I once shared in this very room, actually, that I have a serious medical condition known as PLDS, or Poor Life Decision Syndrome. And it's led me into a lot of interesting situations. Sometimes those situations involve alcohol, and sometimes they don't. I'm an elevated risk for PLDS in that I can make really poor life decisions stone cold sober. But the story that I want to share with you tonight did not happen while stone cold sober. I had just moved to Philadelphia from West Virginia. Actually, after doing this program with Soulforce, that's actually a true thing. I used to be the director of Peter I used to be the director of Peter. I'm still a little triggered by it, so thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it. But I was director of programs, and I had just moved after doing a program with them. I'd been living in West Virginia, where I'm from, and I moved to Philadelphia. Didn't really know anyone, but I had met someone at Soulforce. A good friend of mine is actually here tonight. Her name is Jess Callop, and she's a hot fucking mess. So I'm excited to share this story and embarrass her just as much as I'm about to embarrass myself. I had been living in Philadelphia for a few months, and we had just got an apartment together, and we'd actually invited a third person to come and join us, who worked downtown Philadelphia at a lesbian bar. Now, I am not a lesbian. And I've actually found lesbians to be a little scary. I don't know if anyone has seen the new show, Orange is the New Black, but one of my favorite lines in that is that lesbians are dangerous. That's my favorite line. I like Facebook it. But for some reason, I found myself surrounded by a ton of new lesbian friends. And this lesbian bar in Philadelphia was called Sisters. Okay, it's a great name for a lesbian bar. And on Thursday night, they had a special that for $10, you got 8 drink tickets and a free buffet for $10, okay? The catch was that you had to use all 8 of your drink tickets in a 2-hour window. So it was, for some people, and this is what I'm assuming happened when they made that deal, it was like, oh, no one will drink 8 drinks in 2 hours. They hadn't met me, okay? Because I'm gonna get my money's worth. Not only did I enjoy the buffet, but I'm gonna have all 8 drink tickets, okay? The problem is that their little 8 drinks came in, the small little glasses about like this, but because my roommate worked there, we knew all of the bartenders, and they gave us the big glasses. So not only were we drinking 8 drinks, we were drinking 8 doubles. So about 16 drinks. We had more than one Thursday evening where I completely blacked out and don't remember getting home. I wish that had happened this evening, actually, because it would make my life a lot easier now. But we had stayed all night. We'd done the 8 drink tickets. We were. Have you ever reached that stage where you're drunk and you just eventually give up and let your head sway, or your body sway the way your head is moving, right? So I was pretty much at that point. So I'm swaying back and forth, and my friend Jess and I walk outside of Sisters, and we're waiting on our friend to close up to come walk home with us. When Jess says that she has to pee, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know if we can get back into the bar because they close up and they have to clean and do everything. And she said, oh, no, that's okay. There's a parking lot right next to Sisters with some trucks in it. And she just decided that she was gonna go under a fence and go into that parking lot and squat behind a truck in downtown Philadelphia to pee. I was too drunk to really say that maybe that wasn't a good idea. So she went behind the truck to pee, that's right, Jess Callop right here, squatted and peed in a parking lot in Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia. And while she was doing that, I was up against the back of the bar with my, doing the head thing, following the way my head was spinning, and really teetering on blackout drunk. It was touch and go. When someone began to walk by, this big guy started to walk by, and at first I thought, well, kind of cute, that was my first impression. And then he walked by and he said something to me, and he asked me if I wanted to buy something, but I didn't really understand the question that he was asking. And so then he kind of walked further on, and then I think probably because of my swaying, which was a dead giveaway that I wasn't really in my full mental capacity, he came up and he grabbed my arm and began to walk with me. Now, I was too drunk to really realize what was happening, and so we started to walk together, and he starts talking about how he wants to sell me something. And I am from West Virginia, and I don't really know anything about drugs too much. I went to college, so alcohol was my drug of choice. And so I wasn't hip with the lingo. And so when he said he wants to sell me something, I'm like, I don't really understand. My head's spinning. I don't know what's going on. And so he walks me, and I'm like, I don't have any money. And I pull out my wallet to show him that I have no money, because that seems like a really smart choice in the middle of a street where you don't know where you are in the middle of downtown Philadelphia. The other thing I should mention is that I have a terrible sense of direction. So I'd only been there a couple of months, and we had been to Sisters several times, but I today couldn't tell you what street it's on, and I still don't know. And so as we're like weaving through streets, I'm getting more and more lost in downtown Philadelphia, and I have no idea where I'm at. And I actually don't even know how to get back to the apartment where we live, even though we lived there for 2 months. It's pretty tragic. So we're walking around, and I'm starting to panic and realizing that I don't know where we're at, and that's when it dawned on me that I had been taken. Like in that movie, I had been taken, this guy, and sadly it wasn't even for like sex trade, it was to buy drugs. So I had been taken, and this guy tells me, well, it's not a problem, they don't have any money, I'll take you to an ATM and you have to get money. And at that time, another guy, his friend, comes out from I don't know where, and there are 2 big guys like standing beside of me, escorting me to an ATM to take out money. And I'm too drunk to realize or panic, which is probably for the best that I was too drunk to panic, but I just, okay, you know, I'll take out money. Now, I had just moved to Philadelphia and had just started a job, actually, with that organization that you mentioned, thanks. And I didn't have much money. And so I'm sure that was a disappointment to them, because I'm pretty sure I shared my bank balance with them as we're standing there. Why not? So I took out $100, which was pretty much most of what I had in the bank. I mean, I had a couple $100 maybe in the bank. And he says, okay, well, let's go. So then we start to walk, and he and his friend then take me down into a subway, which is a really great place to be when you're by yourself and in a city that you don't know, and someone's trying to sell you drugs that you don't want to buy, and you're too drunk to really even know your own name or how to get home. And so we start to walk down into a subway, and we meet another guy there. So now there are 3. There's this underground drug ring in Philadelphia, and I'm like cracking the case at this point. Crack's a funny word, we'll come back to that. So, he tells this guy, so the only thing I can think is that this guy was the kingpin. I mean, I don't know anything about drugs, that's what I'm saying. So I think this guy was the boss, you know, and these guys were to find, you know, drunk little queer kids around the gay bars and take them and give them drugs. I don't know. So that's what happened. And we go down, and I give the guy $100, and he gives me 5 little baggies of something that are orange and have white stuff in them. And I just put them in my pocket, and then I'm like, okay, and I'm like shaking, because at this point I'm starting to come out of it enough to realize that this is terrible. And the main guy, the guy that had originally led me, you know, before the other 2 people came out of the middle of nowhere, takes me back up the street and then asks me for money. He says, well, you know, what about for me? And I'm like, you just saw my bank account balance. It's like $141, and I gave you 100. I mean, I don't have any more money. And so he like roughs me up a little bit and pushes me against the wall. All of this is terrifying, okay? More terrifying than awkward. The awkward part comes a little later when I eventually get into a cab and find my way home. Now, I would have called my friend, you know, the one that abandoned me to squat and pee behind a truck. I'm not bitter, I've let it go. You owe me $100. And I would have called her, but I had just gotten a new smartphone and wasn't really familiar with the way that, you know, smartphones kill your battery. So I looked down, and apparently, you know, playing arcade games all day had completely killed my smartphone, and I couldn't call anyone because it was dead. So I didn't really know, I knew our address, and the cab driver didn't really know where that was, and so eventually he, through some miracle of life, finds me back to my apartment. I go up to my apartment, and there's my friend and my roommate, who have now made it home, and I'm still a little drunk, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed because now I've realized that I've lost $100 for something I don't even know what it is. So I pull it out, and our roommate, who works at the lesbian bar, who's probably a little more life savvy than I am, says, oh, you just bought crack. There's that funny. Now, I to this day don't know how you take crack. I don't know if you, I mean, I know you can bake pot into brownies. I don't know if you do that with crack. But I was convinced that I should get my money's worth. I mean, I'm liberal, you know. I was like, I'll try it, you know. Apparently, chewing on the little baggie is not how you take crack. So I woke up the next day to 4 little baggies of crack and 1 little baggie that had been chewed on with some stuff missing. The moral of the story is, I remember being a little kid in West Virginia and watching the horror movies, the after-school specials about the big city and how, it's all drugs and you're gonna get in trouble. So the moral for me was that, first of all, don't ever trust a friend that pees in public. Not bitter, I've let it go. And second of all, that crack is whack.